Every day we search for healing in medicine and others in escape, yet the truth whispered by the Buddha is that no cure can reach you until you awaken. The healer within the body may fall ill, the mind may tremble, but the soul remains whole, waiting for you to remember its power. Have you ever felt exhausted even when nothing seems wrong, as if something unseen drains your light? That is not weakness. It is a sign that your energy, your thoughts, your emotions have forgotten. Their balance healing is not about fixing what is broken. It is about returning to what has always been whole. The Buddha taught within this very body lies the world, its origin and its end. True medicine does not come from outside, but from awareness, from the way you think, breathe, eat, speak, and see. When your consciousness becomes clear, your energy aligns and your body follows in harmony. In this journey, I will share with you 10 ancient Buddhist rules of healing, not rituals or beliefs, but timeless practices that awaken the natural intelligence of your body and mind. These teachings will help you calm the storms within, cleanse the noise that clouds your energy, and rediscover the quiet force that has always lived in you. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover is not how to escape pain, but how to let it transform you. Healing is not a miracle that comes from somewhere else. It is a homecoming, and that home has always been within you. Part 1, Heal with Truth. You cannot heal what you refuse to see. There is a quiet power that begins every true healing, the power of honesty. Not the kind of honesty that exposes others, but the kind that gently uncovers yourself. The Buddha once said, 3 things cannot be long hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. When you turn away from your own truth, the soul begins to fracture the body. Whispers first through fatigue, then through pain, and finally through silence. But when you dare to look directly at what hurts without judgment, without disguise, that very gaze becomes medicine. Imagine a monk standing by the river at dawn. His reflection trembles on the water's surface. He has spent years seeking cures for his suffering. New rituals, new prayers, new teachers, but still his heart feels heavy one morning as the mist curls above the stream. An elder approaches and asks softly, "What are you running from?" "My child." The monk lowers his eyes and answers, "From my own pain." The elder smiles, then turns around and faces it. That is where the healing begins. When you deny your sadness, it hides in the muscles. When you pretend you are fine, it sinks into the breath. When you smile to please the world, while your heart trembles in silence, your energy begins to scatter. Denial is like holding a wound under a layer of silk. It may look clean, but it festers underneath awareness. By contrast, is like sunlight. It may sting at first, but it purifies everything it touches to heal. With truth is to sit with yourself and whisper, "This is what I feel. This is what is." It is not punishment, it is liberation. Honesty does not wound you. It frees you from the illusion of control. You begin to see that your suffering was never your enemy. It was your teacher in disguise the moment you stop defending the pain and simply listen. It starts to speak softly, clearly, with wisdom older than words. Take a breath now. Close your eyes. Ask yourself, what truth have I been avoiding? Perhaps it is the fear of being unloved. Perhaps it is the grief you never allowed to breathe. Perhaps it is the fatigue of always pretending to be strong. Whatever arises, greet it as a long-lost friend. Hold it in compassion. The Buddha taught to understand everything is to forgive everything. And forgiveness begins with yourself, with the courage to see what is real without turning away. Healing is not the act of fixing it, is the act of remembering who you are beyond your wounds, beneath the stories when truth returns. Peace follows, because truth like light needs no defense. It only needs space to shine. So, be honest deeply and tenderly. Do not hide from your heart. You cannot heal what you refuse to see, but once you dare to see it, the healing has already begun. Part 2, do not feed toxic thoughts. The mind is a garden, and what you water grows. Every thought you hold is a seed. Some carry the fragrance of peace. Others bloom into thorns that wound you from within. The Buddha said, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything, what you think you become. Yet most people walk through life scattering seeds without awareness, seeds of fear, resentment, comparison, judgment. They wonder why the garden of their mind grows wild with sorrow. Once a young monk came to his teacher exhausted by his own restlessness. "Master," he said, I meditate, I pray, yet my mind keeps growing, weeds, thoughts of anger, doubt, and envy. Return every day. The master led him to the monastery garden, where two small plots of soil lay side by side, and one bright lotus flowers glowed under the sun. In the other, thorny vines twisted across dry ground. Both began the same, the master said, a handful of earth, but one was watered daily. With attention, the other left to chance. Which one have you been watering? Our thoughts are no different. The mind is not your enemy. It is fertile ground. What you plant in it, consciously or not, will one day become your world if you feed the fear. It multiplies if you feed resentment. It poisons your peace. But if you feed gratitude, compassion, and trust, your inner landscape transforms into a sanctuary. The first step is awareness. Watch your thoughts as you would watch clouds drifting across the sky, without clinging, without judging. Some will be dark and heavy, promising rain. Others light and fleeting. Do not try to chase them away. Simply recognize this is anger, this is worry, this is desire. When you name them gently, they lose their grip. The Buddha compared thoughts to passing travelers. They come, they stay for a while, and then they leave it. Is only when you offer them tea, build them a house, and call them mine, that they take root. Imagine waking each morning and choosing what to water. Do you water irritation by revisiting an old argument? Do you water fear by predicting tomorrow's pain? Or do you water stillness by taking one conscious breath and saying, "May I be at peace. May all beings be at peace." Every thought carries a vibration, and that vibration shapes your body, your energy, your destiny to heal. You must become the gardener of your mind. Pull the weeds of bitterness with patience. Plant kindness, not as an obligation but as nourishment. And when a storm of negativity passes through, remember, the soil of awareness is stronger than the rain as you breathe. Now feel the mind quieting the heart, softening. Let this affirmation root deeply. I choose thoughts that heal. I water seeds of peace, because healing is not only about curing the body, it is about tending to the garden within until your very thoughts become flowers. Part 3. Let go of the past. Release resentment and return to peace. The past is a teacher, not a prison. Yet so many walk through life dragging chains of old pain, unaware that the lock has always been open. The Buddha once said, holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. Every memory you refuse to release becomes that coal glowing quietly in your chest, keeping you warm with bitterness, but far from peace. There is a story told in the monasteries of the East. Two monks were traveling through a forest. When they came upon a river, a woman stood by the edge, unable to cross. The elder monk, without hesitation, carried her on his back to the other side. The woman thanked him and went on her way. The younger monk, however, was disturbed. Hours later, he could no longer contain his frustration. "Brother," he said, "you broke the rule. We are forbidden to touch a woman." The elder smiled gently, replying, "I set her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her?" That is how most of us live, carrying people, words, and wounds that should have been left by the river long ago. We replay conversations, reopen scars, and feed stories that no longer serve us. But healing cannot enter a heart that clings to old pain. When you hold resentment, your energy becomes trapped in the past, unable to flow into the present moment where life actually exists. Letting go is not forgetting, it is understanding. It is the moment you realize that what happened was not meant to destroy you, but to awaken you. Every betrayal revealed your strength, every loss deepened your compassion. Every ending was a hidden beginning. In disguise, the Buddha taught, whatever has the nature to arise will also pass away. Even suffering obeys this truth. It only remains because we keep reviving it with our thoughts. So pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, what weight am I still carrying? Whose voice echoes in my mind long after they have gone? What story am I repeating that keeps me bound to yesterday? As you breathe out, imagine releasing those memories like autumn leaves falling into a stream. Watch them drift away, neither resisting nor clinging. You don't need to fix the past. You only need to stop feeding it. In that stillness, forgiveness begins to bloom, not as approval, but as freedom. Forgiveness does not change what happened. It changes your relationship to it. It frees the energy that has been frozen in pain and returns it to love. It turns scars into sacred symbols of growth. To let go is to honor yourself. It is to whisper to your heart, you are safe now, you can rest, and when the past finally loosens its grip, you will find something miraculous waiting beneath it. Silence, space, and peace. Let the river of life carry what no longer belongs to you and walk forward, light-free awake. Part 4. Guard the gates of the senses. Choose what enters your mind as carefully as you choose food for the soul. The Buddha taught the senses when untamed, drag the mind like wild horses. But when guided by awareness, they become the path to liberation. Every sound you hear, every image you see, every word you read becomes nourishment for the mind. Yet we are often more careful about what we eat than what we allow to touch our consciousness. We filter our food for health, but feed our soul with noise, conflict, and distraction, and then wonder why our peace becomes so fragile. There is a story from the old monasteries of Tibet. A young monk asked his master, "Why does my meditation feel restless? Even when I sit in silence," the master led him to a crystal-clear pond. As they watched, a traveler passed by and threw a handful of dirt into the water. The reflection of the sky vanished instantly. That, the master said, is what happens when you let unguarded impressions enter your mind. The pond is your awareness. The dirt is the world's noise guard. Your waters every day. Countless impressions knock on the doors of your senses. The glow of a screen, the tone of a stranger, the conversation that lingers long after it ends. Each leaves an imprint. The mind absorbs what the eyes consume, what the ears receive, what the tongue repeats. If you feed it chaos, it will echo. Chaos if you feed it. Beauty, silence, and truth. It will echo harmony. The Buddha compared the mind to a charioteer. When the senses obey awareness, the path becomes smooth. When they run wild, the chariot crashes. Guarding your senses is not about isolation. It is about discernment, just as a gardener chooses the right balance of sunlight and shade. You can choose what kind of energy you invite, and spend time in nature, where the eyes rest on calm colors and the ears receive the sound of the wind. Listen to words that uplift rather than agitate. Watch what reminds you of goodness. Speak what leaves a trace of peace in the air. These are not small choices. They are the architecture of a serene mind. Try this simple practice before opening your phone. Take one conscious breath and ask, will this nourish or drain my spirit before speaking? Pause and ask, will this sound create harmony or noise? The moment you begin to ask, awareness has already entered the room, and awareness itself is protection in a world that feeds on overstimulation. Guarding the senses becomes an act of rebellion, a quiet declaration that your peace is sacred. When you learn to filter what enters through your eyes, ears, and words, you begin to taste life more deeply. The mind becomes clear, like the pond after the dirt has settled. So, choose your impressions as you would choose your food, with care, with reverence, with love. Because what you allow into your senses becomes what your soul digests, and ultimately what your life becomes. Part 5. Practice silence every day. Silence is medicine, letting the mind reorganize itself. Silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of awareness. It is the sacred space where the noise of the world dissolves and the voice of truth can finally be heard. The Buddha once said, better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. But in order to find that word, you must first return to the silence from which it was born. There is an old story of a monk who lived by a mountain stream. Every morning he would sit quietly beside the water, doing nothing, just listening. When a traveler passed by and asked what he was meditating on, the monk replied, I am listening to how the world breathes. The traveler frowned, but I hear nothing. The monk smiled. That is because you are still listening to yourself. We live in an age of constant noise, notifications, opinions, demands. The mind is like a crowded marketplace where every thought shouts for attention. Yet true healing happens only when the marketplace closes for a while, when you allow stillness to sweep through and dust away the clutter. Silence is not emptiness, it is restoration. It is the natural rhythm of the soul, rebalancing itself after too much motion. When you sit in silence, something extraordinary occurs. The chaos begins to settle on its own. You do not need to force clarity, just as you do not force mud to sink in water. It settles when left undisturbed. The Buddha compared the quiet mind to a still lake. When the surface is calm, you can see your reflection clearly when it is agitated. Even the most beautiful sky appears distorted. Start small, spend 5 minutes each day in quiet. No phone, no music, no agenda. Sit, breathe, and let the silence hold you. At first, you may hear only the noise of your thoughts, the old worries, the unfinished conversations, the lists of what must be done. But if you remain patient, that noise will begin to soften beneath it. There is another layer, a deeper rhythm that has always been there. The rhythm of being silence heals, because it allows life to speak in its original language. The heart reorganizes what the mind cannot. The body releases what the tongue never could. Within silence, energy rearranges itself into harmony, like a river finding its course again after a storm. So, let each day have its moment of sacred pause, a space where you simply exist, untouched by the pull of the world, because in silence the self remembers its wholeness, the mind realigns, the heart breathes again, as the old Zen saying goes, only in still water. Do the stars reflect clearly? Be that still water, let silence be your medicine, and watch how quietly, effortlessly, your soul begins to heal. Part 6. Speak with kindness. Words can be medicine or a blade. Use them as healing balm in Buddhism. Speech is not merely sound, it is energy given, form. Every word you utter shapes the vibration of your world. The Buddha taught, speak only the truth that is kind and beneficial. Do not speak harshly. Those who are spoken to will answer you in the same way. A single word born from awareness can soothe pain and mend what anger has torn apart. But a careless word can pierce deeper than any knife. There is a story of a monk who once asked his master, "How can I know if my practice is bearing fruit?" The master replied, "Observe your words. When they no longer wound, your heart has begun to heal. For words are reflections of the mind. A peaceful heart speaks peace, a restless one spreads noise." Imagine your voice as a river when the water is clear. It nourishes everything it touches when it is polluted. It poisons the same ground it tries to sustain. In the same way, your speech flows out to others, but returns inevitably to you. What you say is never lost. It echoes back, shaping your inner world. This is why the Buddha placed right speech as one of the pillars of the Noble Eightfold Path, because healing is impossible without harmony between the tongue and the heart. Before you speak, pause for a breath. Ask gently, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If it passes through these gates, let it flow. If not, let silence carry the message instead. For sometimes silence itself is the kindest word there was. Once a village healer known, not for his herbs, but for his words. People said that when he spoke, pain seemed to fade. One day a traveler asked him, "What secret do you hide in your voice?" The healer smiled and said, "I never speak from my wounds. I speak from my scars." His words came not from reaction, but from realization, from places that had already been transformed by compassion. You too hold that power. Every word can either deepen the wound or close it. Speak softly to yourself when you fall short. Speak gently to those who stumble beside you. When your speech becomes mindful, your presence becomes healing. The world already has enough noise, enough judgment, enough sharp tongues slicing through fragile hearts. Be different. Let your words be a balm. Let them taste of patience, sound of clarity, and carry the fragrance of understanding. Remember, the voice is an instrument of karma, what it sends out. It will one day receive. Use it as a blessing, not a weapon, as you breathe. Now imagine your words as light, warm, golden, circling through your body, softening every harsh edge within you before it touches another. Speak as if every syllable were a seed of peace, because in truth, every kind word you give away is one more step toward healing yourself. Part 7. Eat with mindfulness. It's not just what you eat, but the state of mind you eat with. In the Buddhist path, even the simplest act, like eating, can become a doorway to awakening. The Buddha taught, when you eat, just eat. When you drink, just drink to eat. With mindfulness is to return to the sacredness of the present moment, where nourishment is not only for the body, but for the soul. Food is not merely matter. It is energy, sunlight, soil, and the kindness of countless beings woven into one silent offering. There is a story of a young monk who was known for rushing through his meals. One morning, his master watched quietly as the monk gulped down his rice and tea. Without a pause when he finished, the master asked, "Did you taste your food?" The monk blinked, confused. "Of course, master," the teacher smiled softly. "Then tell me, what did gratitude taste like?" The monk could not answer from that day on. He learned to eat in silence, slowly, reverently, until every grain of rice became a lesson in awareness. When you eat without mindfulness, you are not really eating. You are chasing thoughts, memories, plans, or screens. The body is full, but the heart remains hungry. But when you bring presence to each bite, you begin to taste life itself. You feel the warmth of the soup, the crispness of the fruit, the quiet labor of the earth and hands that prepared it. Each flavor becomes a prayer. Thank you. Soil, thank you. Rain, thank you. Time. The Buddha reminded his disciples that awareness transforms the ordinary into the sacred. Eating mindfully means to recognize the interconnection of all things. The rice you eat once danced in the wind as golden stalks. The water you drink once fell as rain over distant mountains. The fruit you hold carries the sun's memory. When you see this, your meal becomes an act of communion with life itself. Try this practice before your next meal. Take one breath of gratitude. Look at your food, not as an object, but as a miracle of life. Eat slowly without hurry. Feel the texture, the taste, the sensation of nourishment. Chew as if each bite were a note in a quiet song of appreciation. And when you swallow, imagine the energy of the food spreading through your body, softly healing, gently awakening, silently, thanking you for your attention. Mindful eating heals because it restores harmony between body and consciousness. It reminds you that sustenance is not separate from spirit. The pace of your chewing becomes the rhythm of your breathing, and the calm of your breath becomes the calm of your mind. As Thich Nhat Hanh wrote, "When we eat with mindfulness, the Holy Spirit is in the bread. So let your table be your temple. Let your meal be your meditation." Because healing begins not when you change what you eat, but when you change the way you receive it, with gratitude, with stillness, and with love. Part 8. Do not bury your emotions. Transform them. Observe, breathe, write, cry. Let the energy flow in the stillness of Buddhist wisdom. Emotions are not enemies. They are messengers. The Buddha taught, what we resist persists. What we embrace transforms. When you bury your emotions, you do not silence them. You imprison them within your body. They wait in the shadows of your chest and your breath, shaping your energy, whispering through your fatigue, your pain, your sleepless nights, to heal. You must not suppress the storm. You must learn to dance within. Its reign, there was once a monk who feared his own anger. He believed that being spiritual meant being calm all the time. But his teacher saw through the quiet tension in his smile. One morning, the master handed him a bowl of water and said, "Hold this without spilling a drop." The monk tried, but his hands trembled until water overflowed. The master nodded. You see, holding emotion without expression is like trying to hold still water forever. It will always spill one way or another. Let it move, and it will find peace on its own. Emotions are rivers. They were never meant to be. Damned anger, sadness, fear. They are energies seeking motion, seeking understanding when you trap them. They stagnate when you meet them with awareness. They cleanse. The Buddha compared the mind to a vast sky clouds. Of emotion may pass through, but the sky itself remains untouched. You are not your storm. You are the space that allows it to pass when sorrow arises. Breathe with it when anger burns. Write it down when grief overflows. Let it fall through your tears. Expression is not weakness. It is release. Every emotion, when witnessed with compassion, begins to soften. The heat of anger turns into clarity. The heaviness of sadness turns into tenderness. The trembling of fear turns into courage. You can practice this gently when a strong feeling arises. Do not rush to fix or label it. Sit in silence. Feel where it lives in your body. The chest, the throat, the stomach. Place your hand there. Breathe slowly and whisper inwardly, "I see you." That simple act of acknowledgement is the beginning of transformation in Buddhist monasteries. Monks sweep the temple floor every morning, not because it is dirty, but because it is a ritual of cleansing energy. When you face your emotions, you are sweeping your own temple, allowing old dust to rise and sunlight to enter. To feel is human. To understand what you feel is awakening. When you allow the energy to flow through breath, through writing, through tears, you are not breaking down, you are opening up. So do not fear your emotions. They are not signs of failure. They are invitations to return home to yourself. Observe them, breathe through them, write them, cry them out. And as you do, the river of life will move again, clear, gentle, and free. Part 9. Meditate on compassion. Open the heart, send light to yourself and others. Compassion is the deepest medicine. Compassion is not a sentiment, it is an energy, a frequency of healing that softens everything it touches. The Buddha said, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal law. Compassion is that law in motion, the sacred current that turns suffering into wisdom. When you meditate on compassion, you do not merely wish others well. You awaken the part of yourself that remembers unity, the place where all separation dissolves. There is a story of a monk who once asked his teacher, "How can I love those who have hurt me?" The master placed a small lamp before him and said, "Look at the flame. Does it choose who to shine upon?" The monk shook his head. The master continued, "Compassion is like that. It does not ask who deserves it. It simply shines, because shining is its nature, to meditate on. Compassion is to sit in that flame, gentle, steady, luminous. Begin with yourself. Close your eyes, bring your hand to your heart, and whisper inwardly, 'May I be free from suffering. May I be at peace.' Feel how even this simple prayer softens the edges within you. The mind becomes quieter, the breath slower, the body lighter. Then let that light expand to someone you love, to someone neutral, and finally to someone who has caused you pain. Do not force warmth where there is resistance. Simply allow the intention of kindness to breathe through you. In Buddhist teaching, this practice is called metta bhavana, the cultivation of loving kindness. It is not escape from pain, but transformation of it. When you generate compassion, the frequency of your energy changes. The heart opens like a lotus in muddy water, untouched yet nourished by the very soil that once seemed impure. Science now confirms what ancient monks already knew, that compassion heals the nervous system, balances the breath, and quiets the body's storms. But beyond biology, compassion heals because it dissolves illusion. The illusion that you and others are separate when you send light to others. You are not giving away your energy. You are expanding it. Imagine the world as a web of breath. Every act of understanding vibrates through that web, calming the whole. Every harsh thought tightens it. So when you practice compassion, you are not healing one person. You are tuning the entire fabric of existence to a higher harmony. Even the smallest act of kindness, a smile, a silent blessing, a patient word becomes a medicine. Compassion is not weakness. It is the strength that arises when you are no longer ruled by fear. It is the art of holding pain with love until it changes shape. So, sit for a moment, breathe deeply, and let your heart glow like a lamp in the dark. Send light to yourself, send light to others. Because compassion is the deepest medicine, the one that heals both the giver and the receiver. At once, Part 10, be grateful even for what hurts. See meaning in loss and let suffering turn into wisdom. Gratitude is not only for the easy days. True gratitude begins where comfort ends. The Buddha once said, "The wise are thankful, not only for what pleases them, but also for what teaches them pain." In this way becomes a secret teacher, a mirror that reveals the truth of impermanence, humility, and awakening when you learn to bow to what once broke. Your suffering transforms into wisdom, and wounds become windows through which light can enter. There is a story told in the temples of Japan. A young monk lost everything in a great fire, his scrolls, his robes, his home. He wept before his teacher, crying, "All I've worked for is gone." The old master looked at the glowing embers and replied gently, "Look, the night is so beautiful." Without the walls, in that moment the monk understood. Sometimes life burns what you cling to, not to punish you, but to free you when gratitude enters pain. Something sacred shifts. The heart stops asking why me and begins to whisper, "What is this showing me?" Loss teaches you what cannot be lost. Failure teaches you what truly matters. Betrayal teaches you where to place your trust, not in certainty but in your own stillness. Every ache hides a lesson. Every ending hides an invitation to see differently. The Buddha compared suffering to the plowing of soil, harsh and disruptive, yet necessary for growth. Without the breaking, the seeds of insight could never touch the light. Gratitude is that moment when you realize the soil of your pain has been preparing the ground for awakening all along. Try this reflection, recall a difficult chapter of your life. Instead of turning away, breathe into it. Ask softly, what did this experience awaken in me that peace alone never could? Perhaps it taught you compassion for others. Pain, perhaps it revealed your strength. Perhaps it showed you the impermanence of everything you once thought would last forever. These are not scars to hide, they are sutras written on the heart. When you begin to thank even your sorrow, you reclaim your power from it. Gratitude does not deny the wound, it changes the way you hold it. You stop seeing yourself as the victim of the fire and start recognizing yourself as the light that survived it. Every thank you, whispered in darkness, is a form of prayer. It says to life, I trust you even here. And in that trust, healing begins. Gratitude turns pain into presence, confusion into clarity, and loss into liberation. So, be thankful for what soothed you and for what shattered you, because both were necessary to reveal who you truly are. And when you can bow before your suffering and say thank you, you have already crossed the bridge from pain to wisdom. In the end, healing is not a destination, it is a way of being. It is the gentle art of remembering who you are beneath the noise, beneath the pain, beneath the layers of fear, and forgetting each of the 10 Buddhist rules is not a commandment, but a doorway, one that leads you back to the same sacred place, the stillness within. When you practice truth, your mind becomes clear. When you guard your senses, your energy becomes pure. When you forgive, your heart becomes light. When you embrace silence, compassion, and gratitude, your entire being begins to vibrate with peace. This is not philosophy, it is transformation. The moment you bring awareness to your thoughts, to your breath, to your smallest actions, your body begins to listen. It starts to align with the calmness of your mind. That is the real healing, not the absence of suffering, but the awakening of wisdom within suffering. The Buddha said, no one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. But as you walk, remember you are never alone. Every mindful breath you take joins the breath of countless others, seeking peace, weaving together the quiet harmony of this world. If these words have touched something inside you, take a moment to share this light. Leave a comment, write a reflection, or simply type peace. It will be your small offering to the world, a seed of awareness planted in collective soil. Subscribe, stay close, and continue walking this path of awakening with us until we meet again. May your mind be still, your heart open, and your soul remember you were never broken. You were always healing.